Hello, wonderful people. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Whew. How are you guys doing? Thank you for showing up for our Monday rendezvous. Today, I wanted to talk about the politics of Congo. And again, I'm recording these episodes in December, and right now, the Democratic Republic of Congo is going through a rigorous election. I am praying that it goes well with a country like Congo. You never know. Um, and this election has been fascinating for a lot of aspects, and it has been very interesting to watch it as a Congolese-American because it dives, it publicly dives into the the topic of the themes of identity, right? So let's go back a little bit. The Congo got its independence in the 1960s. Its first president was Kasavumbu, who was there for, I believe, 5 years or 10 years. Let me double check. Yes, 5 years. Um, and then he was succeeded by Mobutu Sese Seko. And then Mobutu was in power for 30 years, 32 years to be exact. And then you had Laurent Désiré Kabila, who was there for 4 years, I believe. Yes, 4 years. And then you had Kabila Jr., who was there for 18 years in power. In 2019, Tshisekedi um, um, got in power, and now he's seeking re-election. And this is my first time being I think okay, this is my second time following the Congolese election. I remember being interested in the election of 2019. I was in France when that was happening, and yes, I think yes, like I was in France when the rumbling of the election was happening, and although like I was following, I wasn't really following it. So I feel like this is the first time that I followed the Congolese election, and it's so interesting to see how things are playing out. So I'm not gonna bore you with the with um the deep dive of the personalities. I'm trying to kind of like paint a picture like in the background of the theme of identity, right? So when Chisekedi came, he came under the motto de père et de mère, right? He was Congolese. He was a natural Congolese. He was like he is Congolese because one of the reason why the biggest reason why people did not like Kabila Jr. was because they claimed that he was from Rwandan descent. So they used to be like, Aza Rwanda, he's from Rwanda, he's from Rwanda, and Congo and Rwanda. Oh, that's a topic for another day. And so the driving force of the last of toppling the last president was identity, right? He saw himself as Congolese. He his father was president of the Congo, right? So, and people, when he got in power, people, they were okay with him. But then it became like, no, he's not from here. He's not Congolese. He's not a true Congolese blood and everything. So they went and got Chisekedi. And Chisekedi, his father was a revolutionist and everything. He was fighting for democracy, blah 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 blah. It's a long, complicated story, right? So Chisageti comes in power as, and first of all, it was the first transition of power, a peaceful transition of power that ever happened in the Congo since its history. Um, so and so yeah, so he comes under this umbrella. He already comes under this, on the background of I am a real Congolese. I'm a true Congolese. Like I am of Congolese descent. My blood can be found in the Congo, blah, 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 blah. And Tshisekedi is very interesting to me because he lived in Europe, he lived in Belgium. Um, he, for all intent and purposes, he did not have, the only reason why people voted for him was because of the father, because of the work his father did. And as someone who studied politics and who kind of gets annoyed with African policies and politics, I was just like, he's not really my cup of tea, right? So you have a guy who comes in on the background of this toxic identity stuff, and for the first time, you had Luba in power. So a lot of Lubas are very happy. They're like, yes, it's finally our turn to be in power, because all the other presidents have belonged to different tribes, right? Kasavubu was from the Mukongo tribe. Mobutu was from, he was a Ngala person. Um, Kabila Swahili, and this is the first time and that the Luba have their president, right? And it's funny because one of the things that Mobutu did well, and people kind of like, praise him for, was this idea of, we are not going to have tribalism, right? I'm not going to put people in power because they're from the same ethnic group as me. I'm not going to favor my ethnic group over other ethnic group. And he had this saying, Papa Bomoko, Mama Bomoko. So we are the same dad, we have the same dad and we have the same mom, and we're all Congolese, right? And although his like parental figure was, the Western world um can kind of like look down upon it, a lot of Congolese favor that, right? And he used to take, so if you were, so for example, like in Congolese politics, like some, like if you have like local government, right? If you're in the Ngala region, he's gonna put you to be a governor in like in the Luba region. So there's a lot of people who are born like ethnically, so there's their objective identity. Remember our last episode we talked about objective identity and subjective identity. So the objective identity can be like a Luba person, but they lived in the Shaba region, so they speak Swahili, which was the case for my father. My father is Luba, he doesn't speak Chiluba. His family lived in the Swahili territory. So my father's side of the family, they consider their subjective identity, like they feel more Swahili than they feel like, of course, like besides, my dad being a liar, a cheater, um, a toxic man and everything. He has nothing that of the Luba culture. but but that's what he did. So he used to like make people go like, you just don't stay in your own region. He would like spread you around because he didn't want this idea of tribalism, right? With Chisekedi, you see the opposite. With Chisekedi, when people criticize him, he will say, well, they're criticizing us because, we're Balubas and everything. And the reason why Lubas get a lot of bad reputations, like outside of the dating world, is because Luba men are very like, I think the Luba people are very prideful. They're very prideful. They're better than everybody. They are highly educated. Like the Luba men are the Nigerians of the Congo, basically. The same thing you guys don't like about Nigerians, literally what the people don't like about Luba. And so I am half Luba and half Swahili. So and I share some identities. Some I share some stereotype of being a Luba person. But there's a caveat. A lot of like the Luba descriptions is usually tailored to men. So because of that, Luba girls are really taught to be very submissive, so that they can be, so that the men can still dominate. And since I did not grow up in the Congo, so I don't have that, so I display my Lubaness and everything. So Chisekedi, when he gets criticized, he's like, oh yeah, like although he doesn't say it directly, he says like, there's an undertone. It's like, oh, the reason why they don't like me is because of our identity, right? This bastard, he gets, oh, first of all, let me not say that because I'm trying to get a job and working in the Congo, and I don't want this to ever go out and they'd be like, he called the president a bastard. But let's say, you know what? God, I don't know how to edit stuff, so this might stay in this episode. Um, but you know what? It is what it is. Um, so this man, he hired everybody from his circle, like family members. He has given them position of power, which the other president, Kabila, has not done, right? And so he brought in this idea of we are Congolese, right? He brought this idea of like, oh yeah, I'm the like this country has not had a real Congolese to rule it. So like I'm the real Congolese, right? And you see this in this election with his opponents, right? So one of his opponents, his name is Moise Katumbi. Based on my positionality as a girl who lives in the West, Moise Katumbi feels like a Western politician, right? He's very educated. He's a billionaire. He's well traveled. He has worldly experience. So when he speaks, I listen to him, which is like a lot of African politics. The way they speak, you're like, this man is full of it, right? And I think some Congolese are having the reaction that some Americans had towards Trump, minus the racism, right? Because you're seeing this figure who's like, oh, he's a billionaire. He will not steal from us. But he already has it, you know? This man, Tshisekedi, it's rumored that he was working in Domino's in Belgium. And then I don't know how he became president. I really don't know. But yeah, whatever. Um, so he's literally somebody who came from nowhere and got into politics solely because his dad was a revolutionary and so, right? But so Katumbi is like, oh, when I come, like, so with Chisekedi, because he's coming from a place where he does not have, he's taking from the States. This man has been outside of the Congo more than he's been inside. He's been on 200 trips. What president does that? He's just traveling. Like, so he's using the state's money as his personal money. He's talking about like he's paying himself basically. And whereas, again, my positionality as a Westerner is like, wait, don't like he's being paid more than the American president get paid a year. I believe they said that he was being paid 2 million a month. And I'm like, for what? Doing what? Teachers are not being paid. Police officers are not being paid. People who are literally fighting in the east of Congo are not being paid. Like, why is this man paying himself $2 million if that is true? Allegedly, he's being paid, like he's paying himself $2 million a month. I think the American president get paid 200 something a year. So this man is making more money than the American president, and right. So with Moise Katumbi, you have this man who's already a billionaire. He has his own private jet. He doesn't need to rent um planes from other countries in order for him to travel. He was a governor in his Katanga region. He did a lot of work. He paved like there's paved road. He brought a lot of businesses to his government and everything. He is telling us and he is showing the people this is what I've done when I was governor in my own region. Imagine what I can do for the whole country, you know? And you're like, yeah, a billionaire. He doesn't need the money. He's not like this guy who came from allegedly working from Domino's and who just got in power. He's not going to steal from us, right? And me, as an American looking in and somebody who's like, yes, we need good leadership and everything, I'm seeing Katumbi as a leader, right? And I'm liking and he's speaking about policies. He's having policies, but his opponent is attacking his identity. So why would you attack Moise Katumbi's identity? So let's back up. So Moise Katumbi, he's biracial, I think that's how we're gonna label it, biracial. His father is Jewish, his mother is Congolese. And like I said, he has worldly views, he's been educated around, but he went to the best schools and everything. But this man is born and raised in the Congo. He has his roots in the Congo. Like, he cannot go to another country and claim that country as, like, of course, he has aunts and everything. You cannot, blame him for his family relations, but he's Congolese, right? So you thought. But because he has a physical um, identity that makes him an other, people are attacking his identity. And I really became interested in that because as someone, like under the guise of de père et de mère, right? I'm from, my mom and dad are both Congolese, right? They can trace them to their village and everything, right? As someone who's de père et de mère, right? Biologically, Moise Katumbi to me is more Congolese than me. He's more Congolese than I am, right? Because how do we be how do we become from a certain place? That's one thing I've struggled with, right? Because I don't feel like I belong anywhere because I've never and I think America is one of the countries with the exception because you can look at America and be like, no one is from America. So you can say, like, yes, I belong here because we all belong here, right? But in countries that have a defined rule of what it means to be from that country, what are the requirements? Because in when it comes to nationality, we have two rules. This jur sanguine, which means the law of the blood, or jus soil, which means the law of the land. In America, we have a juror soil system, right? And I'm sure I'm pronouncing it right. It's Latin. I'm not. I never spoke Latin in my life. But in America, if you're born in America, you're American. That's not the same rule in France. A lot of countries don't have that rule. Because of how shady some politics are in Africa, they changed the rule based on who it suits, right? But Katumbi, he has both. Under the Jur soil, he was born in the Congo. Under the Jur sanguine, his mother is Congolese. So he has both. He has both. And now people are like, oh yeah, well, he doesn't speak Lingala. Lingala is not every Congolese language. People think Lingala is a national language. It's not. People think every Congolese speak Lingala. No, they don't. Because the capital of Kinshasa speaks Lingala, doesn't mean every Congolese speak Lingala. Lingala have become popular, like has become popular because people in the city center, like people in the capital, speaks it because Mobutu was the longest president and he was Ngala. And I think that's like the simplest answer I can find. But if you go to another region, if you go to the Swahili region, people speak Swahili. They don't care about speaking Lingala. You go to the Luba region, they speak Chiluba. Like a politician, when they go to the Luba region, they speak Chiluba to tailor to that community. Like some people will speak Lingala or will understand Lingala, but it is not a requirement for them to speak Lingala. So imagine, living in the United States, right? I live in Rhode Island. Rhode Island had its own language. Like, let's say English is the state of the country. English is the language of the country, right? So we all like have to know it. Like not have to know it, but in order for us to have like um dialogue amongst ourselves, we chose one language and then we chose English. In Congo, that language is not Lingala, that language is French. Our national language is French. That's the one language that we all kind of like share. depending, regardless of what tribe you are. People speak French. That is our unifying language, right? But if I want to gain popularity, like I want to get people from Massachusetts to vote for me, I go to Massachusetts to show that to show some reliability. I don't even know if that's a word, but okay, to show that I can relate to them, I say some words in the language of the people of Massachusetts. Does that make sense? So that's the same thing that happened in the Congo. So the unifying language is actually French, it's not Lingala, because Lingala belongs to the Ngala people. The Ngala tribes, their language is Lingala. The only reason why Lingala has become popular in Congolese arts and all that, because most of Congolese musicians and artists are born and raised in Kinshasa. And Kinshasa, outside of French, Lingala is a common language. So Katumbi, being from a Swahili region, he doesn't have to speak Lingala. So I don't know why people are making fun of his accent. I have no idea why people make fun of his accent. So it's interesting how, in order to divide and conquer Africa during colonial times, they use identity, right? Like if you're from this tribe, I will not enslave you, but the tribes that you hate, then I will enslave them, right? And then so you guys fight among each other. They they divided the house. That's what identity was used for. It was Identity was used to divide and conquer. The perfect example I can think of is the Rwandan genocide. People always talk about, oh yeah, the Hutus and the Tutsis don't like each other. Nobody liked to ask why they didn't like each other. Part of it was Belgium. Belgium used identity to like to create division among this group. When the Belgium was in power, they favored one group, and then when they left power, they decided to put the group that they did not favor to be to be in power. And guess what? It was payback time. Identity. So it's funny how identity was used to divide and conquer, and it's also funny how now Africans have taken that use of identity to kind of define who can belong and who cannot belong. I have a so I have two sets of biracial cousins. Um, some of them are in Germany, and I was finding their identity construction interesting because they live in Germany. But my other cousins who are biracial lives in the Congo, and their father is Portuguese. Right, the father is a biracial Portuguese. So, but he lived in the Congo his entire life and everything. And then I asked my cousin who lives in the Congo. I was like, "What nationality do you like? How do you identify?" He's like, "I'm Congolese." And then he's like, "I'm Congolese, but I'm legally Portuguese." And I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Because I have Portuguese nationality." Because they are actually, and I found that out like 2 years ago. So even though they're born and raised in the Congo, and their mother is 100% like in how many percentage maximum of Congolese, and their father is 50% Congolese, they actually, because of the nationality status, they actually have a Portuguese nationality. So in the Congo, so the dad has to pay tax to still live in the Congo. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. But these kids are born and raised. They identify as being Congolese. They're more close to the Congolese side than they are with the Portuguese side. So my cousin, based on this manipulation of identity, cannot run to be president. And I'm just like, that's weird. So I wasn't even from I'm not born in the Congo, never been. But and I was having a conversation with this person who's very yes, he's not really Congolese. He's not he's not a purebred Congolese and everything, blah 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 blah. And I was just like, and I was asking him like, between me and him, who do you consider Congolese? He said me, and I'm like, do you think I can run Congo? And he's like, well, theoretically. And I'm like, yeah, because as loud as I like to speak about, my Africanness and everything, there's limitations to that. There's limitations to that. And it took me a while to understand that there was limitations to that. Because I don't live the life of a quote unquote Congolese person in my daily lives. I'm in America. I've been educated here. From fifth grade all the way to college to master's degree, I've been in the West. So can I so because both my parents are from the Congo, do you expect me to 100% speak to the experience of a Congolese girl who have lived in the Congo? No. And I'm cognitive of that, right? Cognizant, I think that's the word, of that. So when I speak about stuff, because when people hear you're African, they ask you as if you're an expert on everything that's Africa, everything that's Congo. I tell them, I'm just like, you also have to understand that my perspective does not reflect a Congolese person perspective. When I speak, when people ask me questions and everything, I can relate, being in that position of quote unquote power, as opposed to somebody who's in the Congo and being asked about the Congolese, what to do for development in the Congo and everything. I can relate what I hear from Congolese people like on the ground because I follow the news of the Congo. I follow what's going on there and everything. I can give you secondhand knowledge, but I cannot give you firsthand experience because I've never lived that. Because I've never walked in those shoes. Again, what makes a person that person? What makes a Congolese Congolese? And 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 I think I wanted to dive into this topic because there's an episode I'm looking to do about Meghan Markle, and I've realized that subjective identity is the way you present yourself, not with your physical, but in how you tell the world who you are, right? Because in objective identity, they can be like, "Oh, you're black," but do you present yourself? And again, that doesn't mean black has a there's a monolithic way of to present yourself as a black person, but it's like when you meet me, and I'm sure as you have been around this podcast, you have met a girl who embodies both being African and being American. And because that's how I present myself. Because I never felt like some days I feel like I'm neither. Some days I'm just Cynthia and I'm talking to you as just Cynthia. But anyone who has met me, and again, and I'm hoping that you guys can hear this, right? When you meet me, you'll see that I present myself as a girl who's a proud American and who's proud to be of Congolese descent. So you kind of get both with me. I don't choose one over the other. And I feel like my whole life I've been trying to battle which one was stronger, but then I realized they're both strong. Now, to be honest, I think the American part is stronger. The American part is stronger. But yeah, because I lived here, right? Because I this is where I shaped myself, right? But Chisekedi, for example, you've lived in Europe, you've worked in Europe, all your like most of your kids are Europeans, they have Europeans passport and everything. And you have the audacity to tell somebody who can relate more to the everyday life of the average Congolese person. Again, he's a billionaire, right? He has businesses. He, but like he can relate because he's been there. He has seen the struggle firsthand. You just came when you got elected. Right? So how? So I think that's interesting. So how dare you say he's not Congolese enough and he's a foreigner? And again, and the reason why I'm referring to Chisekedi is because although he doesn't say directly, he say indirectly, but his supporters are the one that drive that narrative. Instead of talking about policies, which Katumbi is doing, they're talking about his multicultural identity. And as a multicultural person, as somebody whose parents has been like, oh yeah, we brought you to this country to be educated, to go help out people. I'm wondering, I'm like, is there space for me to go help out people back in Africa? Are you gonna say I'm not Congolese enough to be there? Or that my voice don't matter? Because it works both ways, right? Because I have to be cognizant of like I am not a full representation of this population, right? Or like I'm not 100% a pure representation of this population, but they also have to understand that there's similarities, or they also have to make space for me to be able to speak to like things that goes around there, right? And that reminds me of my relationship when I was with my ex is Congolese born, Congolese bred, right? He lived in the Congo. He moved to Belgium when he was 21. So this man, he has a notion of being Congolese. He's dating me. To his mind, he's like, oh yeah, she's Congolese, right? But I'm Congolese-American, right? And we will be having like just and again, I study political science. I'm very up and current in what's going on and everything. I follow things and all that. So I kind of enjoy, like, although I've made a rule to never talk politics with my significant others, like whether it be friends or family, I just don't like it because I feel like the tension gets really high, and then you start to really not like that person. Um, but so one time we're having a conversation on everything, and then he tells me, "What do you know? You're not even Congolese." He's like, "Oh, how can somebody who's not even a Congolese can tell me about Congolese politics?" And I'm like, "But I'm learning." He's like, "Yeah, but you're learning it in the books. You haven't lived it." Now, of course, we're saying that so dismiss, like he was being dismissive of me, right? And it's funny how I had to understand why he was saying that, but he never took the time to understand how saying that to me was wrong. And I've always felt that on both my African side and my American side, right? In America, I've always felt like I couldn't have space to voice my opinion because they're going to be like, well, you're an immigrant. You're not from here. If you don't like it, leave, right? And then in my Congolese, I was like, how do even my aunt told me that. It's like, how can somebody who learned Lingala is going to tell me how to speak Lingala? Because I said a word that she was not familiar with because I learned it. And then she never heard it. And she was like, wait, what's that word? And I told her, she's like, that's not what that means. And she's like, how the hell are you going to tell me what words mean? Because she saw herself as more Congolese than I am. So she did not give me space to be able to teach her something that she didn't know. Right? Do you see how weird this is? Or how interesting and fascinating this is? So the elections are in 2 days. I am scared to see what happens. Um, to be honest, I am hoping Katumbi wins because I have family members in the Congo, and Tshisekedi has not done anything to better their lives. Like, I have an uncle who has not, he works for the government. He has not gotten paid in 9 months. You know, you have teachers who are not being paid. You have people who are like, women are being stuck in the hospital because they can't pay the bills and everything. So they're being stuck in the hospital. They're being held hostage in the hospital. Doctors are not being paid. And or so it's just a mess. So like socially, like Katumbi speaking more to like what I would like to see happen in the Congo, but huh, elections in Congo are always tricky. So we'll see what happens. So yeah, what do you think of this episode? Please comment. Do you guys also have these same experiences in your countries? I know a lot of people are listening from Europe. I have my the majority of my listeners are from the United States. Can you relate to to just being a multicultural person and how you feel like you don't have space to speak up, or or how your identity affects your political involvement and everything? So yeah, please let me know. Thank you guys. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye bye. Have a good day.